All right, y'all. Welcome to today's episode or announcement. We're going to talk about the importance of success. Meaning, what does success look like to you? Success can mean different things to different people. You have goals that you set for yourself. You go after them. You try to achieve them. You do your best to be the best at whatever you decide to do. That oftentimes can deter us because sometimes we set our goals so high that we stray away from it. We find excuses not to execute, not to get it done. I was inspired to do this particular podcast for you guys because I know we could talk about the Steph Currys of the world, LeBron James, the Venus Williams. We can talk about the Amazon guy, Jeff Bezos. We can talk about many people that have been successful. We can talk about comedians, everything like that. But oftentimes when we talk about these people, they feel a little bit unattainable, right? They feel so far ahead of the game that maybe that type of success is not for us. And that's why I say, what does success look like? What does it mean to you? What are you willing to do to get there? I have 4 people directly connected to me in my life that have found, I consider, high levels of success in their lives currently. And I'm using this as a shout out plus to show all you young people that because you're not on TV or you're not super popular on social media, it doesn't mean that you're not going to be successful in life or whatever life path or whatever you want to do that you set up. It may not necessarily end up that way, but you use whatever skills you have to obtain that goal. So let's get started. So first, I'm going to talk about 4 people. 4 people I know: Rob Ismay, Phil Ezebahai, Andrew Cobian, and Azel Prather Jr. These 4 people I've known throughout my life. 2 of them I've coached with when I was a coach at New York Tech, and the other 2 were actually former players of mine at the same school. So we're all intertwined and connected. So the reason I bring up these 4 is that success for them didn't happen overnight. For example, I'm going to start with Coach Drew. He spent 11 years searching and working hard for the opportunity. Lots of sleepless nights, lots of traveling cross country to different clinics, meeting different coaches, meeting different people. He worked at Hofstra for a little while. He worked at Pace for a little while. He worked with me at Tech for a little while. And he just kept at it, kept grinding because he wanted to fulfill his dream. And finally, just recently, he was able to secure a spot in the Nets organization as a coach. And that, like I said, that success, that type of success does not happen overnight. It is a grind. It is a process. Next person I want to talk about Coach Ismay, another person who started out as an assistant coach and grinded and worked hard to the point where he was coaching at, the athletic department actually collapsed due to the pandemic. And he could have easily went out and tried to search for a new career, but he didn't. He stayed the course, and now he is an assistant at a Division I program, St. Francis. So shout out to him. Another one who stayed the course, kept grinding, believed in himself, got the job done. Another person I want to talk about is Phil. Okay, Phil always been a charismatic, energetic person who has always had, a plan in his head, always thinking about the next move. And it's no surprise that he started out as a little trainer in the gym, working with kids, to now, he's built Mecca basketball with a few other coaches. So he went ahead and built this program. Shout out with Phil. Shout out Coach Karp as well, showing love to everybody. So he built something called Mecca basketball out in Long Island, and they just had their grand opening. And that's something also. What happens? It's not overnight. Continue grinding. Continue getting it done. Next person, last person I want to talk about is a guy named Azel. Azel is a DC guy who has his own foundation where he helps out the children in his community. He works in a low-income community, helps them out. He had barbers, beauticians, and stylists come into the schools to give the kids haircuts and get their nails done, and a lot of self-esteem building activities. So shout out to him for that. But most recently, he just came out with an album for kids. The The one that comes to mind is "That's the Opposite." I love that. I love that song. Another person who, he stayed the course, he grinded, he believed in himself, he built the team around him, and he got things done. Another person where success didn't happen overnight. So the one thing all these guys have in common is that they all had hoop dreams, right? We all grew up wanting to play basketball, wanting to play in the NBA. Obviously, things don't always work out the way they're supposed to. As Bradley Beal would say, there's only 400 of them. So, and I'm not guarding Bradley Beal with my knees like this. What they did was they used the skills they've learned in the sport, where team building, pushing yourself, being able to deal with losing, being willing to deal with not being successful, finding ways to get better all the time. You need it to grow. You need it to climb the mountaintop, to get to the next level, okay? All four of these guys did that. And it just happens that, they all got to the top of their mountain these past weeks. And that's why I'm using them as examples. And shout out to them. I didn't ask their permission to do this. And they can yell at me later if they're upset that I used them. But anyway, it doesn't matter because I'm using them now. But like I said, I'm using them because I could talk about the Steph Currys. I could talk about the LeBron Jameses and, all these other people, right? But there are people in your community. There are people that you know that have found levels of success, have pushed past the limitations of themselves, have pushed past the limitations that others have placed on them. Especially in this world we're in now, where people are putting their own limitations on you, saying you're not going to be successful at this, you're not going to be able to do this, because they're scared themselves to do certain things. I want you to push past all of those things. Something you're interested in, go do it. Something you're interested in, go try it out. Push past it. See if you can really do it. See if you can break the boundaries of all the limitations that everyone is trying to put on you, all the limitations that you put on yourself. If you like to draw, go start that drawing. If you like a sport, go try that sport. Because it might not necessarily lead you to being in the NBA, but it could lead you to, getting that job you want, meeting somebody new. All those things, okay, are right on the other side of you just pushing down that wall and knocking it down. Okay, as you see me, I was kind of turning and looking at my notes here. Okay, hearing no is good. Okay, when people tell you no, that's a good thing. That means that there's some improvements that you have to make in your life or your strategies, or you have to rethink your approach, and that's okay, because you're going to hear no a lot more than you hear yes. No doesn't mean stop. No means rethink, revamp, reinvent yourself. And this goes for the adults too. I mean, I'm making these for the kids, but for those adults that are listening, this is for you too. You feel stuck. You feel like you're not pushing yourself. You feel like you want to reinvent yourself. Now's the time to do it. Yesterday was the time to do it. Okay, so break down that wall. Okay, because everybody's watching, even your children. You're teaching your children how to push through stuff. I'm working through that too. We're all teaching our kids, we're teaching the students how to push through these things. Okay, doesn't happen overnight. Make sure you're always doing your best. It's important to fail. That's how we learn and make adjustments. That's okay. These four gentlemen, once again, shout out Phil, shout out Coach Drew, shout out Coach Rob, shout out Azel. Thank you for giving me the inspiration to actually do this podcast, to try to inspire my students and anyone within an earshot. That being said, make sure you hand in your work on time. Please, if you have any questions, my email is below. If you like the message I shared out, share this video to everyone you know. Peace.